First event is the compulsory. The compulsory event consists of 4 heats: an acro heat, a pyramid heat, a toss heat, and a tumbling heat. These skills for the compulsory event represent the basic skills of the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. In this event, each team will execute the same skills for direct comparison. Each heat begins with a starting value of 10, and the officials will be looking for execution, body positions, and stability of structures.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NCATA Division III National Tournament as we are underway for Buffalo State versus East Texas Baptist University, as Buffalo State getting started into the compulsory acro with a start value of 8.0. Compulsory across all 4 heats is going to be a base level that these teams are expected to master in the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. An 8.0 start value means there's going to be a couple of elements that they're going to not be competing and not do, but everyone usually starts at a 10.0 start value, and it happens for all teams across the nation at all levels. So you get a chance to really see how teams stack up when they compete against each other, as Buffalo State going to wrap up with a nice arabesque and a drop off. And well, you hear the excitement. It's one of the things that's a big part of this sport, the excitement and the energy, as the ladies on the floor are going to let you know exactly how good of a job they did. They know this sport better than me. They know it better than some of you. I guess it depends. I don't want to generalize in terms of who it is that's listening. But, man, the ladies on the floor know what's going on. As hey, I'm going to turn the lead over to my man, Mark T. Hall. Mark is doing all kinds of things.
Triple duty.
Running broadcasts, running interviews, and, you know, he's probably doing a few other things in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So back here on the mic here, of course, as you said, Mark T. Robinson here with you, Kyle Shipp. And so far here we've got the ETBU Tigers facing off with the Buffalo State Bengals. So Tiger versus Tiger, as we said here right now. And so far, pretty solid start here for the Bengals with a possible start value of 8 here. And so the Tigers also about to get set to go as they're looking to bounce back here. Tough loss against Trine. Again, it was 217 to 209, but again, talking to Coach Lavelli, she talked about how they knew coming in that the margin was going to be very slim and that things were not going to be quite as, you know, as easy as or nothing's easy at this level, but you know, things were going to be just, you know, just come out and perform. Things had to be precise in particular. So we'll see how they respond here today as the home team.
As on the floor, you're going to have Chesney Speaker, Hannah George, Trinity Heath, Brooke Silvertooth, Eva Dickin, Reagan Brown, Kylie Davis, Kennedy Colander, your counter, Sasha Wygand. They got a possible start value of 8.0 as well. They're going to have a few of the similar elements. Little bit of a break in the knees from Trinity Heath. They're going to drop off, though. Nice, stable drop moving into this inverted element. Straight into the inversion.
Nice hold there by the bases.
Yeah, really nice and super stable. Boy, such a great job.
Wow.
And they're going to move into this one-footed element. They're going to go up, hold on to that foot, get set, knee goes up, and into the arabesque. Good-looking arabesque.
Great job there by the Tigers. Good dismount, landing. Yeah, that was a very, very good start by ETBU. I'm impressed.
Yeah, a really good job, and here in this meet, this is going to be these two teams' final meet. Obviously, both of them took a loss yesterday, so they're competing for their final time, at least in terms of the team. Tomorrow, they all still have the opportunity to be in the event finals at 11 a.m. But as far as a team, this is the wrap-up for their season. For the seniors, this is their final time on the floor, and for those that are trying to move into next year, it's just an opportunity to kind of hopefully wrap up your season on a positive note. So going to be interesting to see how this event really flows through with a 6 o'clock start time for the final event of the day.
Yeah, 6 o'clock start time, and it's going to be, I think, a very, very close meet here as we got, again, the Bengals and the Tigers getting set here for the next event, which is the Pyramid. And so, I mean, both of these teams, I think, coming in will be fairly evenly matched, just like they were with Trine. I mean, it was an 8-point loss for ETBU. But you're looking at a 4-5 matchup. I feel like this is one of those matchups where, kind of anything can happen, really. But it's still going to be contingent on the Tigers being just as precise as they were yesterday. I felt like if they bring that same level of attention to detail that they brought to Trine yesterday to this meet, I think they have a very, very strong chance of, closing out the season with a victory.
As Buffalo State's going to take the floor for their compulsory pyramid, and a compulsory pyramid is a synchronized pyramid. It's going to be a thigh stand straddle. So you got the two bases on the bottom. They're going to try and create a real nice stable platform for that middle base. That middle base can be doing a lot of work overhead. Your top is going to be on top of that extended position overhead for your middle base. And they're going to go into a straddle. So we see that extended position for those middle bases. This is a solid pyramid for both sides.
Very good pyramid for sure.
And that front layout off, a nice job. Synchronization maybe just a little off on the rotation over the top. But, wow, two really solid pyramids with not a lot of movement in the middle there. Very impressed from the Bengals. And, Mark, I don't know who we give the edge to in terms of the fact that the ETBU Tigers are just kind of going for the Tiger in general. And Buffalo State going a little bit more for a specific type of Tiger. Yeah,
absolutely. And so I'm going to say, as not to sound too biased and as someone who works for the ETBU Tigers, I'm going to say we're more of a Siberian Tiger. That's the bigger Tiger of the two.
Absolutely.
Bengals a little bit smaller. So, hey, if they want to be the Bengals, we'll be the Tigers.
A lot of Siberian Tigers out in East Texas there, Mark.
One or two.
As ETBU going to be taking the floor, and they're going to go with the same 10.0 pyramid. Again, all the compulsory events, when you compete it at a 10.0, it's going to look the exact same. So you're going to get a good chance. And so because of the two elements that we talk about the stability, but then we also talk about the dismount. On the stability, boy, you saw great stability. Dismount was a little bit off in terms of the synchronization and on rotation. So you can kind of compare that directly to what you're going to see on the floor from the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll see here as they take to the mat. And on the pyramid, we are looking at for ETBU, we are looking at Kylie Davis, Maddie Lozano, Brooke Silvertooth, Kate Cozart, Emberlyn Dye, Kira Ryan, Sasha Wayan, Carly Spears, Chesney Speaker, Annalise Cowley, Trinity Heath, Audrey Locke, and Amaria Thompson. So a full house there, pretty much. Good landing, though.
Yeah, really a nicely executed pyramid. And I think what you saw is you actually saw a little bit of backwards from what we saw from the Bengals. Not that the stability of that pyramid was bad, but we saw a little bit of a sway, especially on the right side. But then when you see the dismount, I think that the Tigers take the dismount, the Bengals take the pyramid. And so we kind of sitting at 50-50, and it just depends on what the judges are going to do in terms of deductions from there as we're kind of moving into the toss now. And ETBU is going to compete the 10.0 toss, as is the Bengals of Buffalo State. But we're also going to see, because what we have seen is they're all going to go out for the 10.0 toss, and then they're going to compete maybe a lesser version of that. They're just going to go straight with probably a back tuck to layout. And so we'll kind of get a chance to see how each team handles the lesser toss of the compulsory event and kind of where they're going to put their eggs in what basket, if you will say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we're going to see how each team is able to respond here. So, again, like you said, 10.0 star values from both sides. So it'll be very, very interesting as the Bengals take to the mat what they do here.
So I want to take a look. So your two tops are going to be number 15, Jacqueline Hayden, and I believe that's number 7, Lucy Ingro. Both of these are seniors, so competing here in their final event. So every time they do something, it'll be the last time that they do that.
Yeah,
Down
absolutely.
and up with the back tuck to lay out, and that was really good, as there was no noticeable side to side, and if you can hear the roar through the microphone, you understand.
Yeah, absolutely. No wobbling on the bases there. Great landing on the dismount. And so overall, really solid job by the Bengals to kind of set the tone here. Tigers with the response.
As the Tigers, so they'll have a little bit different situation. So a couple of seniors being tossed for the Bengals. For the Tigers, going to be a junior and a sophomore. I believe it's going to be Kylie Pittman and Chesney Speaker, at least if it's the same way that it was listed out the other day, where the top was at the very top of the list. Now, for those of you that know Kylie Pittman, you may be like, hey, you're a moron, what are you talking about? So we'll see when they run out there, and we'll kind of correct our tops as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a tournament of adjustments and, different placements at different areas. So, I mean, hey, you never truly know how these things are going to kind of pan out here. But I do believe that, yes, she will be one of the tops, if we're not mistaken.
As the crowd's starting to mingle in here a little bit for a 6 o'clock game at ETBU, we've got the Calvin Knights right below us. And so they competed earlier today. They've come back to take a watch of everybody going on tonight. And ETBU take the floor, a couple of synchro tosses. As it is, it's going to be number 10, Kylie Pittman, number 7, Chesney Speaker. And I believe they're going to do the same thing, and they're going to give you the exact same angle as well. So you're going to be able to take a look and compare to what Buffalo State did.
So really good job there on the toss. Good landing. And again, as we look at the formation from this angle, pretty solid overall. Bases, not a lot of movement once again. So, hey, good response by ETBU.
Yeah, really good response. Maybe a little too strong on the right side. It looked like they maybe threw Chesney Speaker just a little bit higher than the other group. Hey, you know what? Amped up and ready to go. And I think that's part of the beginning part of the meet is kind of dealing with the adrenaline, dealing with the excitement, or whatever emotions that you're going through. It's always nice to be able to do these base level elements and then move on into the next event where you've kind of knocked out some of that. Because I can only imagine if you came out trying to do some top level skills right off the bat, you may have some nerves and anxiety that might get in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very strong possibility. For sure. But once again, there's a reason why they've been practicing this all season long. So when it gets to these types of moments, you're able to respond accordingly. And like we said, Tryon is the prime example of a team that is going to, you have your setbacks, you have a couple of players that get injured, and, the show must go on, so to speak. And so, the correct response is to, have a next play mentality. And so trying again, the prime example of what they were able to overcome. And they were still able to get the win yesterday.
Absolutely. Is both ETBU and Buffalo State going to compete an 8.0, 5 athletes on the floor for Buffalo State, 4 athletes on the floor for ETBU. A back tuck, had a couple of back handsprings in the back. They're going to move in. They're just going to go with that vertical jump into 3 back tucks, 2 back handsprings, and then a back handspring into a back tuck. We'll see how they handle this one. And so they're just going to go back handspring into that vertical jump and now move into a round off back handspring, back tuck. Round off, back handspring, and then back tuck as all the athletes compete the round off back handspring, back tuck.
Yeah, that was a great finish for sure.
Yeah, good finish as, the rotation coming through largely at the same time. One athlete with a little bit of a step backwards, but again, the more athletes on the floor creating points, the better. Is ETBU. And on the floor for Buffalo State was Lucy Ingro, Kara Moran, Jacqueline Hayden, Emma Ball, and Brianna Rohrer. And ETBU is going to answer with a young group of athletes, 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores on the floor. In Cozart, a freshman, Speaker, a sophomore, Dickin, a sophomore, and Colander, a freshman.
Yeah, very, very young group for sure for ETBU. And so we'll see how they fare here as they get set to take the mat here. But, yeah, definitely something to take note of for sure. I mean, a lot of these teams, that's one of the things I've noticed is it's good because you see that your programs will have a future, but a lot of young athletes throughout the weekend for all 7 of these teams, really. So it lets you know that your team, your program has a good future, a good foundation to really build upon here. As we look at across the board, a lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen here. So the future of the sport, future of the programs for each of these teams is in pretty good hands, Kyle, I would say.
It certainly seems like it, and interested to see as it continues to move forward. And I think from an ETBU perspective, when you start talking about the hands that it's in under Coach Ashton Davis Lavelli, she was building a really strong program and then was gone for a couple of years. When she stepped back, is beginning to build again. You've seen the progress from the Tigers throughout the season and trying to make that culminate into tonight as ETBU going to take the floor with their 4 athletes. They're going to go 4 right across the front, so the judge is going to get a really good look at them.
So, again, like you said, young group, Speaker, Cozart, Dickin, and Colander.
There's another back tuck. They just go with that vertical jump into the back tuck and then a back handspring back tuck. And so they'll go back handspring just into the jump out. And now they're running tumbling. Round off back handspring, back layout or tuck. We'll see what they do. They're going to go back tuck, finish it off with the tuck. And, hey, a really nice stick right at the
top.
That's
nice
Chesney
finish.
Speaker, boy, she came down from that back tuck and didn't move. Her feet were glued to the floor. Really nice job from Speaker.
Yeah, great job for sure as the Tigers create the little tunnel here. And I really like the landing. The execution was solid as well, but the landing, really not a whole lot of moving around afterwards. But we're going to take a step aside here. But first, you guys can take a look at what's coming up next. It's going to be Acrobatics coming up. So stay tuned here. The EU+.
The second event is this marks the beginning of the optional portion of the meet. Each team will compete with skills previously chosen with different possible start values. There will be between 2 and 4 athletes in a group on the floor in each of the 3 heats. Heat 1 has 5 elements, Heat 2 has 6 elements, and Heat 3 has 7 elements. The start value is determined by the difficulty and combination of each skill. In addition, each position must be held for 3 seconds. This event demonstrates power, strength, and balance.
Alrighty, folks, we will bring your attention to the board here as the compulsory event is in the books. In the acro, a 6.60 for the Bengals. The Tigers of ETBU with a 5.825. The pyramid was a 9.125 for the Bengals, 9.55 for ETBU. So good little counter there. In the toss event, 8.975 for the Bengals, high score. And for the Tigers, a 9.15. ETBU once again taking control there. In the tumbling event, 2.0 for the Bengals. And then for the Tigers, a 2.325. So I think ETBU have the narrow lead, 26.70 for the Bengals. And the Tigers with a 26.85. And I said narrow lead. That was an understatement.
Yeah, I would say 0.15 of a point is about as narrow as it gets. As we're going to move now into the acro element, and now we wind up seeing the game of starting values play in. Buffalo State's going to start off with a 9.25 here in the 5 element. We've got a 5 element, 6 element, and 7 element heat. 5 element, a 9.25 start value. They're going to mount and go to the heel pinch, immediately get set up. They've got that 45-second clock running. You've got 45 seconds to get all 5 elements in. They're going to go with the back layout. Nice back layout.
Nice
6 the landing. And immediately into what looks like they're going to go into a straddle. They are the straddle. They're going to drop into the inversion. Every single acro has an inverted element. As they're going to drop in unsupported now, look really stable through the middle.
That looks very stable, and she held it, too, for 3 seconds.
Boy, great lines throughout the middle from the ground all the way to the toes at the top, as that was Lucy Ingro was your top for all of those elements. A really nice job.
Great job for sure, as the Bengals, once again, with a great showing, putting pressure on the Tigers again. That was you said a start value of
9.25.
9.25. So, I mean, that's going to be definitely some pressure put on ETBU to respond there.
Yeah, as ETBU is going to come out with a start value of 9.35, so a little bit higher, gives them a little bit more room for error, not too much so.
Not too much. I mean, it's as narrow can narrow at this point. I mean, just looking at the overall scores, Bengals with a 26.7, Tigers with a 27 points, 8, or it was 26.85 for the Tigers versus 26.7 for the Bengals. So. Very, very slim right now. So this will be a tight one, which is expected for a 4-5 matchup.
It really is. And so the ladies coming to the floor. Number 8, Eva Dickin, is going to be your top, at least to start. Reagan Brown, a freshman. Kennedy Colander, a freshman. And so Dickin is going to get into position. Dickin is a sophomore. They're going to go with the back layout. And a really nice back layout.
Nice landing.
You saw great lines. You saw a nice long body. And into Colander, really fighting it. Colander trying to stay in position. Finds a really nice position. Then they're going to drop into the vertical. And nice job. Unsupported. And really, really great job holding the balance
good
there.
Good job on the hold for sure.
And a good job. Boy, that was a really nice answer from the Tigers. I really loved the back layout. The back layout was so nice as Dickin did a great job maintaining body position. Not only that, but then one of the things I really enjoy watching when they go into that inverted element is how the hips and the torso wind up making those minor adjustments. So they're not things that I believe are going to get dinged by judges, but just a little bit of a minor adjustment at a time. And, boy, you could really see them working together. And a nice job for the Tigers.
Yeah, very, very nice job. I mean, once again, it's going to be hard for these judges to score these. Both these teams coming out very, very close, very similar here. As it has been a pretty nice showing from ETBU. And like you said, the key to that was the fact that they were able to hold at the very top of the formation and then come down with a very nice clean landing. So far, I mean, both these teams battling back and forth. So anything can happen right now.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And one of the, as we move into the next heat, which is the 6-element synchro, you're going to have a lot more ladies on the floor. Whenever you have these elements that really force you to show depth in your team, I enjoy getting a chance to see that, because it's not just, hey, here's our 3 best. It's, hey, here's 12 ladies that have to learn how to work together. And we're going to see here from the Bengals an 8.95 start value. So they're going to drop the start value down just a little bit, and they're going to have 3 ladies involved in each of these acros into the straddle. Really good straddle position. Boy, and going backwards, loses it on the left side, so going to try and get it on the right. A good hold on the right side, staying nice and vertical. A great body position, no wobble. A nice drop down. As now we're going to get back into the 2 groups together.
Struggling to get up on the right side there.
Heel pinch, and we're going to wind up having a back layout out, and a good job on the back layout. So the 8.95 start value, going to be hurt, obviously, by the fall. They get into that straddle, and you could kind of see as he was really working to try to get those toes high, so that the body weight just starts to get a little bit on the heels of her palms. They start moving backwards, and then all of a sudden the shoulders go, and once those shoulders start to go, it's really hard in that extended position to be able to hold somebody forward.
Yeah, it gets very hard. And I mean, hey, and we got to see that from up here, just how difficult that can be. But give the Bengals a lot of credit, because they're doing a fantastic job of coming out and really putting a lot of the pressure on the Tigers each time here. But I think ETBU, as reflected in the overall scores, just a little bit sharper right now with the details. We'll see if they can keep that going. But I think right now they're showing that they're have just a little bit of an edge here. Again, Heat 2 is coming up, so we'll see if they can maintain.
Yeah, and in the Heat 2, the Tigers are going to compete at 8.40 6-element. So they're going to drop it down about a half a point from what the Bengals competed. But if they can stay clean, they're going to be way out in front, because the Bengals, obviously, with the drop, they're going to get a major deduction for that. So the Tigers have an opportunity maybe to take that very narrow 0.15 of a lead, stretch it out just a little bit more here in the 6-element synchro, kind of utilizing their depth as a team that they've created throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's going to be the key for sure, as ETBU getting set here. And, yeah, that's something that I'm going to look forward to seeing, is that, again, it all comes down to like you said, the attention to detail. Coach Lavelli is definitely someone who is going to be harping that to her team, making sure that they know that, hey, this is where all the preparation kind of comes in here as they get set to go on the mat. Both teams, ETBU rather, just moments away from the start here of Heat number 2 of our acro event.
So an 8.40 start value is ETBU with Emberlyn Dye on the floor, Diana Garcia, Hannah George. Dye is going to be your top on one side. Silvertooth, Kara Ryan, Riney and Kylie Pittman is in this 6-element synchro. Boy, the extension up, and a good job holding nice and steady. And then drop back down. Nice job dropping down to the shoulders. They're going to rotate over and go into this inverted element. Boy, support. And then they're going to let go of the hands. And we're going to look on the right. The right there was heavy.
Great job
on
with the bases.
Support. Has to step forward. Comes out a little bit early. But they complete the element, though, which is the big important piece right there.
Yes, they complete the element.
Yeah, and so on the left, you could kind of see, boy, they were really heavy. That bottom base, they were very heavy on her hands. You could see the support she was given. As soon as they dropped off, you knew that it was going to start moving forward. But a nice job from the base that receives that, as she winds up taking a step forward, goes chest to chest with the other base. I was a little bit afraid for a moment when she bumped into her that top was just going to keep on going.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I thought was about to happen. I thought it was about to give way. But with that in mind, I mean, heat number 2, scoring-wise, I think would belong to the Bengals. They were a little bit cleaner, I thought, overall on what they were trying to accomplish here. But we will see if that trend keeps up here as we go into heat number 3, which will be the 7 element. Olivia Parsons, Adrian Gardner, Juju Santiago, November Mazares, and Lucy Urig for the Bengals for BSU.
As the Bengals going to come out and they're going to compete a 9.25. So we saw the 9.35. Oh, excuse me, that was ETBU. I'm looking at the wrong sheet. There's papers and sheets everywhere. So
everywhere.
As soon as I said it out loud, I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. 9.05. So a little bit up from the 8.95. And in the 7 element, I think they're probably going to be a little bit cleaner here because with the 7 element, you don't have to have 2 groups. You send out your strongest group for the 7 because 7 elements is a lot to do in an acro. This is where we've seen throughout the weekend teams actually struggle to get it in time of the 45 seconds because there's 7 elements, and if there's any bobbles at all and they have to try to get that 7th element in, they have to restart. It gets very difficult. So it's imperative that they have a nice, clean run here and avoid any drops. Avoiding drops is what's going to push this to where we're going to have to decide it in the team event.
Yeah, absolutely. And so right now here as the Bengals here getting set.
So Persons is going to be your top, and your base, Adrian Gardner. We talked about how strong she is. A nice press and really solid. We got a good angle. As you see, there's not a lot of movement side to side. There's not a lot back to front, and the drop down. A really nice element moving into yet another. So Gardner is going to continue to work. Very strong athlete into this straddle. As Gardner is super solid, they're going to get inverted, the move forward, and then rotate up with the legs. How's this going to look when they let go? Hanging on a couple of steps and down. And pretty good from the Bengals. We saw it was going to be tough as soon as they went from Gardner to, and let's just say this, I think Gardner's so strong, going from her to anyone else is going to look difficult.
Right.
Because she makes it look so easy. But largely a good job overall for the 7 element.
Yeah, great job overall. And like you said, I mean, Gardner's strong. Not only is she strong, she's versatile. We're going to see her tumbling in just a little bit as we continue on here in the competition. So her versatility is definitely a staple for this team. One of the key factors here that keeps this Buffalo State squad so competitive.
Yeah, as you know, Buffalo State really riding a lot of momentum. They've been doing great. And so the drop that they had was the first, I would say the first major bobble that we've seen from them in a couple of days, actually. Didn't have any of those against UMHB yesterday, to my recollection. I've watched a lot of acro lately, so if you're like, hey, Kyle, they actually did, and I apologize. I don't think that I remember one of those. But and so they came out and they actually turned out a really high score for their average on the season, and riding that into today, I think it puts them kind of neck and neck with ETBU. The drop, obviously, a little bit of a struggle, but then they come back in that 7 element. They do what they did, and I think it helps. You have the drop, and then you have Adrian Gardner come out. And I'm not sure Gardner's ever dropped anyone in her life. And I think that was probably when she was a baby, too. She's walking around holding the doctor that delivered her. She's walking around holding the doctor.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to turn it over to ETBU now. So ETBU is going to have a 9.25 start value. So they're going to send the start value back up and send Trinity Heath, Chesney Speaker, Kylie Davis, Hannah George, and Sasha Wygand to the floor. So Trinity Heath is interesting. Heath has actually been battling an injury lately and winds up kind of being limited. And I was talking to Coach Lavelli, and so she comes on, she does her thing, and then she gets taped up and goes off as a really nice
good
straddle. And a very good job from Kylie Davis. Davis got really low as she's taller than the base that gave Heath over. So she's much taller than Speaker. So she had to get so low to receive and then stand up out of that. A really nice job. A nice job being able to retain that. And another half round. So a great half round, and then this back-to-back. They've got 10 seconds remaining to get the inverted element in. A nice handstand. They're going to hold for 3 seconds.
And they weren't quite able to.
The rotation comes off a little bit. Winds up having to deal with the base that was on the side a little bit. But, boy, what a great hold on the handstand.
That's a great hold for sure. And definitely would have been incredible if they were able to kind of hold it completely. But unfortunately, they weren't able to keep it up. But the team was excited nonetheless as the Tigers finish up here. But that's going to put Heat 3 in the books for our acro event. We'll be back with the pyramid, and we'll give you a quick little sneak peek on exactly all that here on our 26 NCATA Victory Tournament.
Third event is the pyramid event. The pyramid event will be the final event in the first half. In the pyramid event, athletes will build 3 layers in a structure. The start value of each heat is determined by the difficulty and the combination of the entry, structure, and dismount. The pyramid event has 3 different heats with different requirements for each heat. Heat 1 must be an inversion, Heat 2 must be synchronized, and Heat 3 is an open heat. 2 key things the officials will be looking out for are the position of the top and the stability of the structure.
We are back here on the ETBU Plus Network. The 5 element for Buffalo, 8.35. The Tigers, 8.5. The 6 element for Buffalo, 3.575. The Tigers with a 5.90. And in the 7 element, heat number 3, 7.90 for Buffalo. And for the Tigers, 7.625. ETBU still will be in the lead as we look at the total score, 19.825 for BSU, and for ETBU, 22.025. So they kind of create a little bit more of a cushion here 46.5 for Buffalo, and for ETBU, 48.8. So as we're looking here, about a 3-point lead for the Tigers as we head into the Pyramid event.
Yeah, nice job from East Texas Baptist to create a little bit of a gap in the acro element. You know, we talked about how close it was coming out of compulsory. Acro, they create a gap, and so now the Bengals are trying to close that gap. They're going to go with a 9.50 start value, and it's going to be 9.5 all 3 heats. As, boy, trying to get into position, a little bit of struggle to get into position. They're going to go, the first heat is the inversion pyramid, so they got to go upside down. They're just going to go up and rotate right over the top. As, boy, what a great hold.
Good hold by the
And a nice job and a nice drop off.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, yesterday when we saw that pyramid, they went up and it just continued to rotate over the top. And that time really nailed it, stuck it at the top. Lucy Ingro looked like she could have stayed up there all day long.
Yeah, she could have stayed up there all day long for sure. But great job by the Bengals on the inversion, able to land that one fairly cleanly. I thought maybe they came out of it a half second too soon, maybe. But again, that's up for the judges to kind of decide here. But overall, great job on the finish, in spite of the slow start, getting into it.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the interesting things. I kind of saw, you know, that back base as she was trying to get her up, kind of was struggling with her balance. Took a couple of steps back with that right foot, but was able to eventually get her up over the top, and it was just beautiful from there on out. And a great job is they're actually celebrating. They got him up on their shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of a huzzah dance, if you will.
Yeah, for sure.
As the Tigers are going to try to answer with a 9.70 start value, so they've got a higher start value. And we talked about this. Strong bases, and Coach Davis Lavelli really puts a lot of emphasis on these pyramids and sets it up. So ETBU going to get out onto the floor. Trinity Heath is going to be the one that's going inverted for the Tigers. Your bottom base is Carly Spears, Hannah George. Keep an eye on those ladies, and look how low they're getting in that. They're trying to get way into those legs and give Chesney Speaker a nice flat base. So that way her feet are pretty much perpendicular to the floor. They're going to go inverted here as Heath going to try and stay up for a while.
Good hold.
And a nice job as it rotates off, goes to the side just a tiny little bit.
Little off to the side, a little early on the release. Not the full 3 seconds, but overall, as far as the mounting, the dismount, those things were really solid for ETBU.
And a couple of really awesome pyramids to get started out. And I think it is. We talked about the bases for each of these teams multiple times. And so we're seeing that play out in real time as we're about to go into the synchro pyramid. As I was just watching the practice of Buffalo State.
Me too.
And getting excited.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, and so Buffalo State, their synchro pyramid is going to be a 9.5. ETBU is going to be a 9.6. So again, just a slight edge to ETBU with the 10th of a point, and we're looking at execution now. Probably not going to have any major drops over the next two, but looking at execution, can you just continue to do what it is that you've done and be solid? As on the floor for the pyramid, Olivia Persons, Brianna Rohrer, Adrian Gardner, Guinevere Brickman, Carla St. Helen, Emma Ball, Lucy Ingro, Mariah Allen, November Maziers, Lucy Uhrig, Lily Scarantine, and Julia Purpura.
So we'll see here.
I got myself in deep when I started reading
I
off the roster.
I was going to say, you were getting into a little bit of trouble there, but, hey, you found your way home.
As they're going to go right through the middle with this pike, and a nice job. Looks nice and stable with the 360 off, and a great job. A little bit ahead on the right side, but otherwise a nice stable base, not a lot of wobble, and again, we're just going to leave it up to the judges for maybe the small things that we don't necessarily pick up on. Yeah,
really good stable base, and the other thing too that you'll notice is that they kind of went with a simple routine Didn't try to do too much. It was just focusing on being sharp and finishing well. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, they did what they were supposed to do. I mean, just be consistent and make sure you're able to execute what it is that you're trying to do here. So looking at it from that way, I mean, mission accomplished.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, because I think one of the things that makes that difficult was the pike through the middle, but they did it so well. And so when you can make something look smooth and simple, a 9.5 is still a really tough start value, but to be able to make it look smooth and simple because you're competent and you're confident in it, I think you just continue to lean into that.
Yeah.
Is when and I think it goes across with any sport. When you get outside of yourself and you start trying to do more than what you have the ability to do, that's whenever mistakes really start to happen. And, And for example, in events where you have to have an entire team on the floor, you have injuries, or over the course of a season, you're like, hey, I need you to do this. You do have those things, but boy, I think we just saw Buffalo State is doing what they do well. Is the entire team for ETBU runs onto the floor for
just
9.6 pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely, and out there on the floor again, the entire team. So there's no need to read off the entire roster.
That's right. If your daughter's on this roster, she is on the floor.
She is on the floor. So happy moms and dads out there taking part of the acro meet here at Ornelas Gymnasium.
Is getting set. They're going to go into this press, and the press up and going to get it on the left side. I was watching that. They struggled with that yesterday, but a nice job to get that done as the 180 off, and a nice job in the synchronized pyramid.
Great job by the middle bases. Once again, that's really an area that I try to watch closely there. Middle bases did an excellent job.
They really did it, and give a lot of credit to Chesney Speaker. Yesterday I think we had to give credit to Chesney Speaker because if I remember correctly, she started to press up, really struggled for a while. That time it got stuck about halfway and then just continued to press. A really nice job, sets up for a nice pyramid and a nice descent. So again, a 9.6 pyramid with a 9.5 on the other side. Dead heat from our vision as we move into the open pyramid, where these two teams are going to throw out the best they got, and they're each going to go a 9.5. And I'm interested to see. I've watched a lot of acro the last couple of days. I can't remember.
So have I.
I can't remember what their open pyramids looked like. So I'm interested to see what elements they're really going to lean into.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting, and that's actually something that I was thinking about as well. Is in the open pyramid, obviously, it's up to your discretion, whatever you think your team does well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how what the Bengals come out on the mat with. So we'll see here what the formation is and what they decide to go with.
Yeah, like we said, a 9.5 start value. All of their pyramids have been 9.5 start values. It's interesting the way that gym dynamics work. Right now, the trainer for ETBU, you see her on the floor trying to cool off one of her athletes. As we see that on the floor, these athletes, boy, they're really getting toasty as they're kind of down in a bowl. But you actually at times see some blankets come out in the stands as people get a little cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the opposite up here. We are sitting dead at the mouth of the AC unit here, and I'm wearing shorts today, so I don't know why I went with that, knowing I'd be up here with the AC unit.
How about number 26? November Maziers she came out onto the floor and was like, oh wait, I'm not supposed to be here. She took off after a while, so they're going to go with a thigh stand straddle, a good looking straddle. They're going to drop off on the 360. Leg gets caught a little bit on the middle base for the descent, but a good job from the Bengals. And a nice stable base as well. So, again, not a lot of movement. The angle that you guys were able to see, there wasn't a lot of wobble. It was nice and stable going up. Coming down, there was just a little bit of an issue as coming across, got the leg caught on the way down, but nothing that really created too much of an issue as ETBU is going to get set up for their 9.5 pyramid.
Yeah, nothing too major there, and can't wait to see what the Tigers bring out here again. High start values, relatively high start values for both of these teams. They're north of the 9s here for the most part. So we'll see what exactly it is to come out and execute. And so it looks like to me, just from watching ETBU much of this season, the majority of their strength comes from not just their bases, but what they're able to do in the pyramid setups and what they are able to do in the acro events as well. So it looks like Coach Lavelli spends a lot of time with her team, building that trust and going over those repetitions and making sure that they're ready to go here when it's meet day. So this appears to be the meat part of the competition happens to be one of the strong suits for ETBU.
As the Tigers going to go out, and I believe Maddie Lozano is going to be the middle base here. Lozano has been dealing both with a stress fracture and I believe with cartilage tears in her knee. She's got her knee wrapped up, and I was talking to Coach Lavelli, and Lavelli said that Maddie being a senior, they kind of talked about what they want to do, and she's like, no, this is my senior year. We're going to finish this thing out, and she'll rest and recover after the season. And so Lozano taking front and center here in the middle base in the open pyramid. Another couple really low thigh stands, getting way down there, giving Lozano a solid base as your top. Boy, going for the straddle, and a really nice straddle.
Good straddle, big time. That's Kate Cozart at the top.
As drop down, and a really nice way to end half number one for the Tigers.
Yeah, great way to end the half. And they're going to tally up the points. Tigers with a solid showing there. We're going to go into the half, folks, and we'll be right back on the ETBU Plus Network with the scores and this event.
Back from halftime and taking a look at the pyramid scores. Buffalo on the inversion scores a 9.075, answered by ETBU's 9.175, as they were a couple of wonderful inversion pyramids. On the synchro pyramid, ETBU an 8.7, Buffalo State with an 8.75, ETBU with an 8.725. In the open pyramid, Buffalo State with an 8.575, ETBU with a 9.025. As Buffalo State's total is going to be a 26.40, and ETBU with a total of 26.925. So the Tigers are going to stretch their lead over the Bengals, as the Bengals now with a 72.925 total, as compared to ETBU's 75.80. So almost a full 3 points for the ETBU Tigers as we head into the back half, where there's a whole bunch of points to be had. We're going to get started off with the toss, as we're going to have 3 heats of tosses. The first is going to be the Salto 450, the second the synchronized, and the third is going to be the open toss.
In the toss event, you will see 4 athletes toss a teammate into the air. The teammate tossed into the air, known as a top, will execute a flip or twist before being caught. There are 3 heats in this event. The synchronized toss features 2 toss groups. These groups should look exactly alike and be in sync. The start value of the toss depends on the skills that the top executes in the air. Officials will be looking for height, the top's body position, and tight catches by the bases.
Ready. All right, well, Kyle, great job announcing those scores for us as we're at the Tigers with a very narrow lead right now, 75.8 to 72.9. I mean, basically 3-point lead, but what do you think is going to be the key here as we head down the stretch of this competition right now?
I think two things. I think if both teams can remain clean, we're going to take a look at the team tumbling. Who's not going to get deductions for having crossovers with too many athletes that are competing too often? And then that's going to move us into the team. And I think in the team, we're going to come into a really tight heat as this tuck to back layout. Nice tuck to back layout, really graceful. Good lines on the layout and nice up and back down. Didn't see a lot of movement side to side.
Yeah, not a lot of movement side to side at all. I mean, great catch, great dismount for sure as well. And so really solid job from the Bengals to kind of get us started here coming right out of the half. Let's see what the Tigers got for us here because, again, we were kind of talking a little bit about that at halftime about how for ETBU, they, again, yesterday against Trine, we felt like the margin of error was very, very small and that they didn't make a ton of egregious mistakes. But, again, when you're going up against teams like this that have been fairly dominant throughout the year and have been together for a while and are you know, ranked where they are right now, you know, all those little mistakes, the little details, those things matter even more. It's magnified, so to speak.
Yeah, it really does get magnified at this point of the year, magnified at this point in the competition. You wind up being on day two, and you're at the back end of your meet now. I say back end, really we're the beginning of the second half, but you know you can really see kind of that downhill slope of the rest of this meet. It's always interesting the way that these meets tend to go is it always takes a little bit to get your footing and really move through the first portion of the meet. The second half of the meet always feels like it flies through.
Yeah, absolutely.
As ETBU for their salto toss are going to complete an 8.80, I believe we're going to see the same toss that Buffalo State just did. And so as the Tigers take the floor, I believe your top is going to be Kylie Pittman. Kylie Pittman, and a nice angle looking right at you. You're going to get a chance to see any movement front to back. Watch her straight down, straight up, and a really good job. As good movement from Audrey Locke. Locke, the freshman, who was that very front base with the toss and then has to step back and out of the way to catch those legs. And that's an important piece because as they're coming through, keeping those legs high on the catch is going to make sure that they're flat in the back and really helps the entire catch and also helps the aesthetics because you don't have, like we were talking about earlier, with some of these teams that only had 3 bases, really having to lean heavy to the front side to catch those legs. When you have somebody at the front to be able to do that, they can focus just primarily on the body weight. And it really helps. And she did a really good job of kind of at the last second moving out of the way and creating a really nice catch for the Tigers.
Yeah, great catch for the Tigers for sure. As we're looking at what they were able to accomplish there. Very, very clean on just about everything in that one. So it'll be tough for the Bengals here to try to counter that, but the Tigers, again, everything looks so fluid. You know, the toss was good height on it, not super high, not too low, but just enough for it to make a difference, for it to stand out for sure. The catch was very, very clean, not a whole lot of movement from you know, your bases, front or back. So that's about what you can hope for. If you're ETBU Tigers, again, this is something that they have worked on and worked on very, very well. Put a lot of thought and a lot of time spent perfecting these skills.
Yeah, as the Buffalo State Bengals going to come out for the synchro toss, an 8.80 toss. I believe we're going to see a tuck to layout as well. Lucy Ingro, Jacqueline Hayden are your tops. Boy, a little bit of lean forward from Ingrid. Does a nice job correcting it. And a good toss. The tuck to layout as the Bengals complete that. So a couple of 8.80 tuck to layouts. ETBU is going to have another 8.80. So I think we're going to see the same thing out of both teams. ETBU is going to come out and do the exact same toss. And so where we saw ETBU match the Bengals to begin, we're going to get another chance. Are they going to be able to have just as clean a run as they did the first time?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question here. as they're getting set to take the mat. I think the Tigers, for what they've done so far here today, they're going to do a great job of responding here. But this meet is going to go down to the wire. as right now, I mean, it's barely a 3-point lead for ETBU. But I think their major strength as we kind of go down the line here is how they perform in all of the team-related events. Not really sure exactly what can happen in the tumbling. For me, that's a little bit of a wild card from either side. But once we get to the team event, I think that's going to be the major thing that kind of tells the story here. I think that's going to be the thing that ends up making or breaking both of these teams as we kind of go down the stretch.
Yeah, I think so. And I was just trying to take a look at if there are going to be any crossovers, any duplicates in the duo, trio, and quad. And I think there's going to be a couple, and I think there's a couple for each. But I think I saw an advantage towards one team. We'll talk about that in a moment as we get closer to it. But with the synchro pyramid, the synchro toss, ETBU comes out as they're going to face the opposite direction for you at the very least. But I believe we're going to see a pair of tuck to a layout.
Yeah, interesting formation there. Great finish.
And again, a really nice job as the tuck to layout. No movement side to side, and they answered. And I got to tell you, from the untrained eye, it's hard to
it
not
looks
say
solid,
they're
doesn't
both going to
it?
the exact same scores. Because both of them, I didn't see much movement in either direction. I saw a nice down to up. Depending on what the judges are watching, I'll be honest, I watch the bases more because I'm trying not to critique every little foot movement in the air, and so maybe there's body positioning in the air that I wasn't necessarily seeing. But really, I mean, from the amateur eye perspective, I was like, hey, let's give them both the same exact score. Let's go for it.
And I think the reason why our eye kind of goes to the bases, or at least from my perspective, is because the bases aren't supposed to move. So if there is, significant amount of movement, for those of us who are still kind of new to the sport, it can kind of teach you to say, okay, that's something that the judges are most likely looking for there. That's something that kind of looks a little bit out of place compared to what that they're trying to do. So it's kind of the easiest way to follow the formation and see how, they're able to kind of execute and able to kind of build on that. So
yeah, and
at least for me, yes.
Well, and as you train yourself to watch the bases, because not only that, but you're going to start learning when there's an issue in the air. You're going to start being able to recognize it through the bases.
Yeah.
In terms of the throw, in terms of depending on which direction maybe they jump. As the open toss coming out for the Bengals, they're going to have 4 tossers on the floor, and one top. That top is going to be Jacqueline Hayden, a 9.0 start value. As I believe we're going to see a full layout from Hayden.
There's a toss there. That's a great catch.
A really good layout again. I mean, if you talk about lines, I saw great lines. I didn't see a lot of break in the body. The reason they face this way on that layout is so you don't get a great view of the hip. If they go side to side, they're going to give you a really good view of the hip, and really the biggest thing to judge there is, are you closing off at the hip or are you staying long? They face this way, and it makes it tough for you to see.
Yeah.
Again, it's the strategy with not just what are you going to do, but where are you going to put them? How are you going to position them? So they put them in front of the judges, but the toes facing the judge, so it's going to take a really trained eye to be like, oh, you broke at the hip, so we're going to get a deduction there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's part of, again, part of the sport that a lot of new fans of acro and tumbling are going to kind of learn here and catch on to with the movement, like you said. I mean, where the formation takes place is critical. That's huge. That's something that you don't really think about as you're kind of watching there. But everything has its purpose and has its place out there on the mat. It's not by accident that sometimes there may be a diagonal setup or there may be a backwards setup. So it's something to watch.
Absolutely right. And speaking of, so here comes the diagonal setup as ETBU. They're going to go with a 9.15 this time. Trinity Heath is your top. So we'll see what it is that Heath is going to compete. Straight up and down. She's going to go forward. Oh, my goodness. And so here's what they did is not only did they go with the front layout, they also went with the 360 twist. We haven't seen them compete that yet. That's new for what they did today.
That is new.
And so I'm honestly even wondering if, because the 9.15 from the heat sheet is what we had from yesterday. They didn't compete that yesterday. I'm willing to bet that that's not how much that was. I believe that that's probably going to wind up being more. But a difficult one is on that twist, the direction she was twisting, you see she pulled too hard. She actually goes towards the base on the other side and goes down all the way. So Tiger's going to get hurt there a little bit. And so I got to tell you, I think that probably pulls us to a dead heat.
Yeah, that definitely does. I mean, I would not be surprised if we are all even after this event. But we'll see here because they're going to be tallying up the scores. We're going to take a bit of a step aside here. We're going to give you a preview of, once again, my favorite event of the day, the tumbling event. We're going to give you about the scores.
Tumbling event. The event 6 heats. The first year synchronized group tumbling passes, a duo, trio, and quad tumbling pass. The last 3 are individual tumbling passes. The start value of each heat are determined by the difficulty and combination of skills in each heat. Officials will be looking for body position, continuity of skills, and technique in each skill.
All right, we're back here with the scores as we've got our toss scores in. 8.275 for the Bengals on the 450 Salto. 8.8 start value for the Tigers. They get it 8.05 on the synchronized with the start value of 8.80 for the Bengals. 7.8, not too bad for the Tigers with the exact same value. 7.80, so a little bit short there. 8.35 for the Bengals with a start value of 9.0. Tigers with a start value of 9.15. They finished with a 6.275. That's going to be the difference. They trailed in every category here. 24.45 for the Bengals for the total score. And for the Tigers, 22.125. This might end up being right dead even. Total score, 97.375 for the Bengals. And for the Tigers, let's see what it ends up being. 97.925. 0.6 of a point is the lead right now for ETBU. Wow, what a contest right now.
What a
Kyle.
contest. And so here's the deal is don't forget that there is still the team event. So if you're watching earlier and this is your second event to watch of the day, you know that this is that we have the tumbling. There's 6 heats, but then we have the team. In the first heat with an 8.0 start value, Adrian Gardner, Lucy Ingro. As the round off into the back layout with the full twist. And so a nice job, an 8.0 start value. And we look at this, and boy, they moved very quickly right into that. Didn't get a chance to talk about it.
Absolutely.
So much of this is not just going to be about the execution. It's going to be about the strategy. Who's going to come out of this with the lead is a lot going to go on because neither of these teams have enough tumblers to be able to throw out a full team. So they're all going to have crossover. So it's a crossover penalty where you have someone who wasn't allowed to compete in like the trio that competed in the because they competed in the duo, but they're out there anyway.
Yeah.
Who's going to have more of that? because the start values, while not the same, are at least similar. And so nobody's really going to go out there and throw a 9.5 or a 10.0 toss. They're all going to be in the 7s and the 8s. There's one 6.25 in the quad for Buffalo State, but really going to be interesting to see how we move through this. A pretty good pass there for ETBU here. This is going to be an 8.0 pass as well. And ETBU is going to send Kate Cozart and Kennedy Colander to the floor.
2 freshmen for the Tigers as well. So, again, that's one of the reasons why I believe that this tumbling event for either team is going to be the toss-up. A lot of crossovers on both sides. So
really believe so.
It's going to come down to the team event.
Front handspring, round off, back handspring, and a full. So a good job, just a little bit of a hop from Cozart, but a good pass. Again, kind of, the same type of pass. Not incredibly clean, not absolutely perfect, but a good pass that gets you into the tumbling setup is Buffalo State next. So now we're going to start seeing a little bit of a deviation in the scores. Buffalo State's going to go in the trio with a 7.25. And your trio is going to be Kara Moran, Jacqueline Hayden, and Emma Ball. So there's not going to be a crossover penalty here in this trio. There is going to be one for ETBU that we'll talk about in just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even though it's a pass that's worth 7.25, there's actually more points that are going to be available to Buffalo State because they're going to be able to have all 3 of these scores counting towards their overall score for this pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as they kind of get set to go here, this is going to be a big key for BSU because, I mean, with the scores being what they are right now, this is a good opportunity for you to steal some points. Down by only 0.6, you're not even down by a full point. And so still very much within striking distance. And we will see here how they're able to respond in this trio. So, again, like you were saying, for ETBU, with it being a lot of crossover here in their trio and their quad events as well, I mean, if I'm Buffalo State, I mean, this is my opportunity here to try to see if I can claw some points away.
Yeah, and Buffalo State is only going to have one crossover in the quad. So no crossovers in the trio. The one crossover in the quad is going to be Kara Moran. So Moran, number 9, you see her at the far side of the floor. She'll cross over into the quad as well. But ETBU has a crossover in the trio. They're going to have a crossover in the quad also.
As the judges are tallying things up.
Yeah, interesting. So we finally get the thumbs up. It seems like every time we start thinking about how long it's been taking.
I was just getting ready to say, as soon as we bring it up.
We're going to start talking about how long it's been taking basically immediately from now on.
Right.
If that's all they're waiting on.
They just want to get a quick mention, that's all.
So a trio pass from Buffalo State. Again, a 7.25 start value. Everybody's going to start from exactly the same spot on the mat. Round off, back handspring, back layout. Good job from the Bengals. As a little bit close off on the hips, not entirely open, but still a good pass for the 7.25 start value.
Yeah, great job there by the Bengals for sure. Great finishes, great synchronization, a little bit of a hop towards the end, but not anything that's going to be, too noticeable. But a solid job overall, putting the ball back into the Tigers' court and more pressure to compete.
So an 8.0 start value for East Texas Baptist. Again, Kate Cozart is going to be your crossover. She was in the duo, then Maddie Lozano and Eva Dickin. So a couple of new ladies on the floor with one crossover, an 8.0 start value as they're waiting to get the go sign. A lot of dancing over on the Buffalo State sideline,
right,
so they're enjoying it right now. They're feeling it.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to keep their energy up for sure. But we talk about the long stride on some of the other athletes here throughout this competition. Ava Dickin has a pretty long stride as well. I mean, for a tumbler, pretty good height. She stands at about, I think, around 5'9". at the very least 5'10".
Everybody starting at the same spot. Running begins at the same time. Round off back handspring and a full. Boy, that was really good job from the Tigers as the round off back handspring, back layout with the full 360 twist. And a nice job, going to get the crossover penalty, obviously, but still a really good pass for the Tigers.
Yeah, great pass for the Tigers, big time. Really solid job there of getting things done here. Again, it's going to be a dock in points due to the some of the crossover there. But otherwise, really solid pass. Like you said, I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be too many points to take it off, but it could end up being significant because of how tight everything is right now.
Oh, it absolutely is going to be significant. And so interesting, well, not interesting, but I mean, it is interesting. But in terms of the way that this is playing out, something to note is only one crossover for Buffalo State, and they're going to go with a 6.75, though. 2 crossovers for ETBU. Their pass is going to wind up being a 7.25, so a little bit higher of a start value, but again, they're going to get knocked even more.
Yeah.
So for Buffalo State, Brianna Rohr, Juju Santiago, November Maziars, and Kara Moran. So Moran, the only crossover currently for Buffalo State, a 6.75, but going to try and get as much out of this as they can, see if they can get around a 5.0.
Yeah, I definitely know I would if I'm Buffalo State. This is the opportunity here.
Round off back handspring, back tuck, as a little bit of a fall forward.
I was going to say little bit of a push forward there off the finish. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see how how the judges really look at that and score that. But again, not much crossover. Only Moran, like you said, joining the quad. But for ETBU, a little bit of a different story.
So for ETBU, it's going to be Reagan Brown, Chesney Speaker, Trinity Heath, and Ava Dickin. And so Dickin is going to be your crossover. And you know what? I read it wrong. So Dickin's the only crossover that you've got.
Okay, I was just getting ready to say.
Yeah.
I think she's the only one. So never mind.
Yeah, and so they're going to start off with a 7.25, and they're going to have the exact same crossover penalty that Buffalo State had. So an opportunity here, especially with the heavy step from Buffalo State that happened on the finish, an opportunity here maybe to make up a little bit of ground in terms of maybe some of what they've lost just a tad as they've gone through.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. I mean, there's no other way to put it, really. I mean, with everything that's kind of transpiring here in this competition with these two teams, it's going to be something that we're definitely going to have to keep our eyes on here. And I tell you what, I don't know if it's just that, our brains are used to being stuck up here for 12 hours, but I feel like today's events are better than yesterday's, and yesterday was exciting in and of itself as well.
No, I would certainly agree, and I think that they're continuing to have some really good quality. We saw the 2 versus 3 earlier. Now we see a couple of teams that maybe got to work out a few kinks yesterday and are playing kind of loose and free with house money today. As an 8.0 pass here, or should be a 7.25 pass.
So here we go for the Tigers.
Round off, back handspring, back layout, and a nice job.
That's a beautiful finish. Really, really good finish. Reagan Brown is excited. She goes, hopping back and forth back to the sideline there. But the Tigers looked really sharp on that one.
They looked very sharp, and I think that's a huge pickup for them. With only one crossover penalty, the exact same crossover penalty. Hey, we talked about it earlier, so I just want to point this out. Again, let's talk about toughness for a minute. Trinity Heath. So we talked about that Trinity Heath is dealing with injury issues, and there are moments where she is on the floor and she does her thing, then she has to go off and get retaped. Trinity Heath just limped over to the sideline to get retaped after going through that tumbling pass. She's going to get taped. She's going to get ready to get back out on the floor for her team competition.
Yeah.
And toughness on display here across every team with all of
course,
these ladies.
Of course. I mean, these ladies out here are definitely, showcasing just what this sport is all about. And that's a big part of it as well. Like you said, Trinity Heath getting taped up, getting set to go here. And just so many of these athletes just putting their body on the line here as we look at Buffalo State here getting set to go. Is going to be number 15 for the aerial, Jacqueline Hayden. So
the aerial,
she starts on the mat.
Yeah, the aerial from Hayden with a 7.75 start value. The run in, she's going to go the front handspring, front tuck, round off back handspring, back layout, and a really great pass from Hayden.
That's a great pass, putting the pressure back on ETBU. So from here, no concerns about any crossover, as they're going to do their own version of the crowd
Yes,
surfing here. Taking a page out of your squad's book right now.
I think they might have found something that they enjoyed from watching UMHB, and so they're going to go with the crowd surfing. And so Colander's going to step in as she's got an 8.35 start value. So this is where, as long as ETBU can be clean and do their passes well, they've got an advantage over Buffalo State. Buffalo State's start values are lower. So we'll kind of see how this plays out, because if ETBU can hit these, they're going to be able maybe to gain where they might have lost a little bit early because they had, I think, one extra crossover penalty. A crossover penalty is going to be heavier than maybe just the couple of half points that you have. But if you can put 3 heats of half points together, you've gained a 1.5 and have kind of made up some of that ground you might have lost.
Yeah, you absolutely have. As it looks like, it's going to be number 24 for the ETBU Tigers. Or number 21, rather. So it looks like a 24 a little bit from here, but Collender is going to get set to go here as she gets a big running start.
With a whip, a couple of back handsprings, and a full. So back layout 360. Nice job from Colander. As Colander, and again with the aerial, so Colander had to have the whip in there. It's an aerial is an element without using your hands.
Yeah.
As Colander with a nice pass, a good promising freshman for ETBU.
Yeah, and showing you exactly why. I mean, she did a fantastic job, and that's the thing for the Tigers is that why the tumbling event for them has always kind of been the wild card because of the fact that they have so many young athletes as your best tumblers. So their future is certainly in good hands, and they're holding their own here today. Really showing a lot of poise and, a lot of resilience, executing very, very well.
So Buffalo State going to go the 6th element with Emma Ball, and the 6th element is going to be a 6.95 start value. So, again, the 6th element named because, well, there's going to be 6 elements. We make it easy for you to understand in acrobatics and tumbling because you may be just learning the sport, but the names tell you everything you need to know. As waiting for Emma Ball after a nice pass from Kennedy Colander. And so Ball's going to go with a 6.95. And then following up, ETBU is going to have an 8.0 pass that you're going to see from Kate Cozart. And so Cozart, a freshman, Ball, a sophomore for the Bengals. As the Bengals trying to close the gap. But again, we talk about this in the team event. Taking a look at totals. Well, we'll talk about totals in a minute after we watch Ball.
Let's see how she can respond here.
As Ball going to start from the far corner, but short on the corner, so probably not looking for too much of a run-up. The hop in, round off back handspring. There's the whip, and then 2 back handsprings into a back tuck. And the crowd goes wild. A nice job from Emma Ball. And again, we saw, I think it's just one of those things, as she's learning that, we see that pause after that whip. Again, just trying to get herself back into a position, rotate those shoulders back to explode. And it'll be interesting to see. I need to check with her coach, see, is Emma Ball kind of learning this skill as a sophomore typically what we see in acrobatics and tumbling is those that are taking the tumbling passes have been doing tumbling for a very long time. They're proficient tumblers coming out of high school. The biggest thing that they have to learn and adjust to is the mat and the skills. And so that's maybe why they don't, as freshmen, just take it over right away, even though we are seeing some of that on the mat right now.
Yeah.
But it'll be a little bit interesting. Ball, some of the movement, maybe she's trying to learn a couple of these skills, especially that whip. So a nice job from Emma Ball as we're going to turn it over to Kate Cozart with an 8.0 pass.
Yeah, 8.0 start value for her. So we'll see how she's able to execute this sixth element here.
Boy, and here's the problem we're going to run into when we start talking about the team event and the points available. I don't know if you remember from yesterday, but ETBU's start value is unavailable because for some reason one of the elements says that it's blocked.
It's still hashtag blocked.
Yeah, it's hashtag blocked, and so it must have been an input error or something. So we don't actually know. Now, here's the deal. The judges know. So please don't think that that's us saying that, we don't know what's going on here. That's Kyle saying Kyle doesn't know what's going on. And if you've been listening, you know that already.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just hoping that whoever's listening is still staying on and not taking a snooze here, listening to us talk. But here's Cozart here at the start.
Boy, front handspring with a round off. 3 back handsprings. And a back layout. Nice job from Cozart as Cozart wraps up a pretty good 8.0 pass.
That's a pretty good job by Cozart. And this is the part, the reason why I really like the tumbling event is because it really shows you just as close to an individual type of an event that you can get when you've got the aerial, the sixth element, and the open, all, solo events here, essentially for each members of your team. So it's a good signal, a good indication of what kind of explosiveness you have from your individual athletes. I'm all for, seeing people flying through the air. So the more the merrier for me. So I think it's just a really good showing here in this tumbling event.
Yeah, and it's fun because it's an element of this sport that allows you to both celebrate the team aspect but also celebrate the individual abilities of incredible athletes. And I think each sport is going to have that. Team sports have that where you obviously have the team element and the one individual couldn't get it done without the team, but there are elements where the individual that can excel really gets the chance to do so. I think that's what we're seeing here. As speaking of those individuals that can excel, how about Adrienne Gardner on the floor? She's got an 8.0 pass. This is the highest individual pass that Buffalo State has, and it's coming from a lady that we were talking about.
That's very interesting. She's normally a base.
Absolutely. As the run in, the round off, and the layout 360 with the back layout with the 360. A nice job from Gardner as she completes the 8.0 pass. And is going to be matched by an 8.0 pass from ETBU's Maddie Lozano.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of what she talked about yesterday, got a chance to kind of chat with her after the meet, is that she really talks about the energy that her team gives her, which feeds into her performance. So I guess that was the purpose of all the dancing and the extracurriculars over on the sideline. But she says she feeds off of that, and her team is one of the big reasons why she's able to go out there and do what she does. But it's very, very interesting to see, again, someone as strong as she is as a base going out there can also hold her own on the mat as a tumbler.
Absolutely. It's rare. It's very rare, and it's really nice to see, though, because it's also excellence on each side of that. That was an 8.0 pass with a round off and the full. But we were talking about her earlier with how easy she makes the basing look, and not just basing, but individual solo basing, where she's holding someone up on her head, and the way that she is able to handle that and handle both so well is very impressive.
Yeah.
Speaking of impressive, here's Maddie Lozano. Lozano competing with a stress fracture and messed up cartilage in her knee. This is going to be the final tumbling pass, at least individually, of her career. So Lozano going to finish off, round off, right into a full. So good job from Lozano as Lozano hits it well.
Yeah, and again, and as a senior, with that being, her last time doing this from the individual perspective. I mean, that's got to be, an emotional weight to it as well. But we're going to take a bit of a step aside here and let the judges do their thing. We are going to move to the next. Take a peek. Don't anywhere.
Is team event. This encompasses everything you just watched in the first 5 events. The team event features up to 24 athletes on the floor at one time, performing skills in acro, toss, pyramid, and tumbling in a routine set to music. Key items for officials to evaluate include synchronization of skills, stability of the structures, body position, and technique of the tumbling. This is a very fast-paced event, so be sure to keep your eyes on the mat.
So with a start value of 8.0 in the duo tumbling event, 7.35 score for Buffalo, and with the start value of 7.25 in the trio, 6.40 finish from the Bengals, 6.55 for ETBU in the trio, and with the start value of 6.75, 4.30 in the quad for the Bengals, 5.10 for the Tigers with a start value of 7.25. In the aerial, 7.45 for the Bengals. And for the Tigers, 8.075. So still with a little bit of an advantage right now for ETBU. 5.525 for the Bengals in the 6th element. Tigers with a 7.625. So as we wrap things up here, it looks like they're still going to have the lead. 7.60 in the open for the Bengals. And for the Tigers, 7.85. What a score. Total for the Bengals will sit at 38.625 after the tumbling event. And for the Tigers, 42.250. So they create a bit of a cushion after the tumbling. I thought it was going to be basically knotted up. 136 overall for the Bengals, 140.175 for the Tigers. So the tumbling event helped to create some space for ETBU, which is something that I wasn't expecting, but that shows you how much I know.
Well, and again, it just proves that the only reason you guys are listening to us is for the entertainment, as was kind of thinking that maybe the crossovers were going to catch up to ETBU. It does not, though, because
not really.
They still have such a good tumbling pass that they were able to avoid too many penalties and so really come out, and the individuals really shot them through the roof. So now on to the team event for the Bengals. They've got to have a good one to put some pressure on the Tigers.
Yeah, they have to.
Nice standing tumbling, some running tumbling across the back and through the front. More standing tumbling, so small hops on some of these back tucks. Largely pretty good, though, but those are all going to be minor deductions as we go through. Moving into the acro all the way across, and they're going to go a pike all the way across. Nice. Good-looking pikes. Boy,
good
especially at the
there.
Back right.
Yeah, very good hold there by the bases.
And then into the inversion, 6 going upside down and coming back across. A nice job as tumbling across the front. Hey, a nice back tuck with some good height.
Great height on that one by Ball, I believe, here closest to us.
More back tucks. And into, we're going to have 3 pyramids right in front of you. So it's facing to the left. They're going to go up on the back. They're going to come through with the straddle. Boy, struggles getting into the pyramid, but they're going to hit it right in front of you. Wobble, can they hang on to it? As they do a good job to hang on to it.
Great
More
job.
Tumbling across the front with a nice back tuck. And into some tosses. Tumbling setting up for the tosses. So the tuck to lay out.
Yeah, great finish.
And we'll go with another toss in the middle. Or excuse me, 3 tosses all the way across. We're just going to change out one top as they're going to go forward this time, and a nice forward layout. Oh, boy, and right in the middle.
Tumble in the middle, yeah.
Kind of had to chase it down. Can they get reset?
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't bite them too much here as the judges look to tally the scores.
Is running, tumbling, going across, back tucks across, back handspring into a back tuck, more back tucks, and even more back tucks. Running across, here comes the full, a nice job from the full from Gardner. And more back tucks. We saw a fist pump on one of them.
Yeah, so absolutely.
22 seconds left. We're going to go into the pike as they're going to show the pike as everybody comes up to finish off with the dance. They're going to hold this pike for a long time. The 360 twist off.
It's a great hold.
And everybody's getting involved, clapping to the beat. And the Bengals going to wrap up their team season with a pretty nice team event. Mainly in terms of major bobbles, just had the one, the toss they kind of had to chase forward. Other than that, minor deductions, steps here, out of line there, and not a bad pass.
Yeah, not a bad pass at all. They looked really good, especially on the end, the way that they were kind of able to clean things up, so to speak. So really good job there by the Bengals. I almost said the Tigers, but they're the Bengals specifically as they were able to kind of clean things up a bit towards the end. Really like how everything came together. Like you said, they had the pike at the end and the team kind of coming together here at the end of the mat and closing things out on a really high note. Very, very strong. I felt like in spite of the little bit of the tumble they had there in the middle, everything else was fairly clean. Not a whole lot of, errors, so to speak of. But, again, it's a lot to keep track of,
yes, it is.
And we're all the way up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got 5 judges down on the floor. They're able to keep eyes on that. And so if you think about it, if every time a small step that you take after a back tuck, if every time is a tenth of a point, you take the fact that you've got 18 ladies on the floor, if 12 of them did 4 back tucks, how many opportunities is that for one small step and a tenth of a deduction? And so you go from, they started with 90 possible points. You drop down into those 70s, even the 60s fairly quickly. And it really just becomes about, as you move forward, cleaning up those tiny little missteps, not necessarily, you want to clean up the major missteps, but you can gain a lot of ground by just polishing the tiny little ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, in a competition where, points are crucial with how close everything has been, ETBU has looked as if they pretty much, started to try to distance themselves with their performance in the tumbling event. But we'll see how they do here as they look to take the mat for the final team event for them of the season here against the Bengals. So what a way to end the season, though, right? Tiger versus Tiger. That's something that you kind of talk about in a crazy animal matchup.
Well, yeah, I think that's a conversation that we once had as a 4th grader sitting there drinking our chocolate milk.
Absolutely.
Hey, if 2 tigers are fighting, which is the stronger tiger?
Absolutely. And you say 4th grade. That was me last week. That's not the 4th grade.
Not.
Why limit it to the 9-year-olds?
Why limit it? Absolutely. We can all have fun with that. Hey, so let me do this. Ready? Let me throw in some tension for you.
Okay.
ETBU with a young team. They do have some great seniors, but a young team largely. ETBU, if they come out, can they keep their focus if one of their first elements is difficult? I think that's one of the deals. If they have a clean pass, they're going to win this meet. But if they have a struggle, can they shake it off and move on to the next one? I think that's going to be interesting to see. Again, don't hope that I see a struggle, but if they do, I'd like to see how they recover from it.
Yeah, that's going to be a big key for sure, especially when you're looking at a young team. Can you stay poised with things aren't necessarily going your way?
Starting off with some really solid standing tumbling, so they're off to a very good start into the running tumbling now. There's a whole bunch coming right at you. Back handsprings into the fulls, and really nice 6 fulls all the way. Heath is going to go with a couple of back handsprings and a back layout. Back handsprings into back layouts, and back handsprings into fulls. So they're going to layer a lot of tumbling right at the beginning. They do a great job with it, and we get started into the pyramids. And hey, how about this? Lozano, so all 3 middle bases just did a full. And so they're going to go from the tumbling, and now they've got to stabilize in the middle. Think about the breathing. Think about the fatigue that's going to happen here.
This is very true.
As we have speaking of it, so a fall right on the left side. Okay, this is it. Can they get their composure back?
Yeah.
Are they going to allow that to knock them off, or are they going to start moving through it well?
Yeah, and that's going to be a key. And that's something that I actually did not think about, is the fact that if you are, you've got bases that also do a lot of the tumbling during the team event, you also got to get back, get ready to hold up your other teammates.
That's right.
Right after doing a tumbling routine.
Yeah, it's
a lot of fatigue.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes and 45 seconds for some more than others, it's very anaerobic, a lot of explosion, a lot of power. And so when you have those versatile people, that's where it becomes an issue, is on the middle bases, on the bottom bases, and the tumblers. A nice job on the front layout, though, as ETBU seems to have their rhythm back.
Yeah. Didn't take them long to kind of adjust from the tumble from earlier.
So about 50 seconds left. They're going to go into a press here. Press up. And nice job. They fight a couple of bobbles. They go ahead and hang on to it. As going to drop off on one. On the others, they're going to go into the inverted elements. As pike and 3 inversions.
Wow.
And Colander
a little bit of
into a heel pinch. They're going to get this back layout, and a really nice back layout. Pyramid in the middle. They're trying to get that in time as they've got about 12 seconds on the clock. They're going to get into the pyramid, come through with the pike. Dancing in front, the pike in the back, a 360 drop off. And the Tigers wrap it up, and I think they took the heat with that right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, way to close out your season with the performance like that. And so we'll see how the judges scored, but I didn't see a whole lot of mishaps other than a little bit of the mishap with the bases there on the left side. But other than that, I mean, pretty solid overall.
Yeah, I think pretty solid. And I think a big question that you're going to run into is just going to be on the level of deduction. Is the deduction on some of the bases really struggling to get into that extended position? Is that going to be greater or lesser than maybe some of the additional steps from the Bengals in some of the back tucks? Not to say that ETBU was completely clean on all their tumbling, but I think ETBU gets the edge in their tumbling. One, especially in the difficulty of their tumbling, but two, just in the cleanliness of their tumbling.
Yeah.
But when it comes to basing and when it comes to the pyramids, I think Buffalo State gets the edge in that. With a 4-point lead, I think we still lean towards ETBU, but it'll be interesting to see how the judging plays out in this.
It will be interesting to see how that all plays out. I felt like their best kind of moments there were, again, in the toss. Mm-hmm. That is where they really narrow the gap big time if we go back and look at the way that this meet has turned out. And so that's where it looked like they were going to start. It was anybody's ball game until the tumbling event. And honestly, that kind of surprised me a bit because I felt like for ETBU that was going to be kind of the wild card round for them, but they were able to stick it out, and their freshmen and sophomores really put together some compelling performances. And like you said earlier, they were a little bit more polished in what they were trying to do. So definitely hats off to the ETBU Tigers as we're going to get the team event totals all scored up. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to give a shout-out to the seniors that were able to compete here today as they close out their senior season. As we await the final scores here, just want to give a shout-out to all of the seniors that competed here from each of the teams here today that had their seasons closed out for your ETBU Tigers. Maddie Lozano, Brooke Silvertooth, Carly Spears, Kylie Davis, and Sasha Wagan. And for Buffalo State, Lucy Ingro, Jackie Heaton, Julia Purpura. And for Stevenson, who started us off here today, Allison Ozyme. And for Calvin University, Rebecca Helen Prince. So fantastic season for those ladies as they were able to kind of close things out with their team. And with that as well, we're going to do the team event scores for Buffalo with a start value of 90.16, a 71.6 score. And for the Tigers with a start value of 91.78, 69.13. Wow. Was not short there. 207.6 for the Buffalo Bengals. For the Tigers, let's see, 209.305. A narrow victory. I mean, I knew it was going to end up being about around 2 points once it was all said and done. But what a meet.
and in the end, the 2 points that they gained in the tumbling wound up saving the meet for them. I say saving it, wound up winning the meet for them.
Yeah.
As, you know, that's what we talked about. They came through and they had the individual tumbling that they had was so good, so clean, and so highly scored. Part of that, how about the senior Maddie Lozano? Maddie Lozano goes out, competes an 8.0 tumbling pass, and what was it? She got a 7.85. So she almost got perfect for the pass that she ran, and they wind up spreading out to about 4 points from 2, and they win by just about 2 points.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, it's been fun, big time here. I'll be kind of roaming around here back and forth as we've got a ton of events going on tomorrow along with our acrobatics and tumbling. So you'll be seeing me kind of drifting around here, but you will be joined by an acrobatics and tumbling former athlete tomorrow. So I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun talking about this sport.
I think so, man. And so because you're not going to be up here tomorrow, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this alongside me and, man, kind of allowing me to tell all the terrible jokes that I tend to tell.
Yeah, hey, they were good jokes. I'm going to steal some of them. I've got it written down somewhere. Once again, this is the ETBU Plus Network. Mark T. Robinson with Kyle Shipp. He'll be joining you for the final day of the NCATA Division III tournament. So can't wait to hear from you guys once again. Thank you for supporting Acrobatics and Tumbling and ETBU Athletics. We will see you guys tomorrow for the final day. Have a great night and be safe.